After the shock of Pearl Harbor, a previously top-secret research endeavor receives urgency level 1, codenamed Manhattan Project. The scientific leadership is under the then 38-year-old physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer. General Leslie Groves coordinates the work of nearly 200,000 people. The goal of the efforts is a bomb based on the principle of nuclear fission that is supposed to release unimaginable energies in one blow. The atomic bomb. Just 6 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the American Army successfully manages to halt the Japanese offensive assault on the Pacific battlefield. From autumn 1943, the Americans, despite heavy losses, begin to recapture island after island in the Pacific. The climax of this phase of the war is the Battle of Okinawa. Here the Americans lose more than 12,500 GIs. That's in June 1945. At this time, the Second World War in Europe is already over.
On the Tinian Air Base, the combined 509th Bombardment Group touches down. This includes 28 B-29 bombers, their crews, and the ground personnel. Only one single soldier, Commander Major Tibbets, is aware of the special mission that the group will have to accomplish in the upcoming weeks.
Potsdam, during July of 1945. The war throughout Europe has come to an end with the unconditional surrender of Germany. Now the representatives of the victorious powers, Stalin, Churchill and Truman, are consulting on the post-war order. Each of the big three holds their own wishes, demands and bargaining power. As the big three make their arrival in Potsdam, a new period begins in the desert of New Mexico. Here in Alamogordo, the men of the Manhattan Project stand on the brink of the moment they have been working tirelessly towards for 3 long years in total isolation. In the end, the project consumed no less than $2.5 billion. The images from the event are going down in history books. July 16, 1945, 5:30 a.m. local time. 12,000 meters high, the white smoke column rises in the shape of an oversized mushroom into the morning sky of Alamogordo. The report of the successful test of the Manhattan Project reaches President Truman on the evening of the 16th July. One day later, the Potsdam Conference begins. Even though the Russian intelligence is informed about the state of American atomic research, the availability of the new weapon remains Truman's secret for now. In his negotiation style, Truman is like a changed man, as Churchill writes in his memoirs. He decisively directed the Russians on what they should do and what actions to avoid, commanding the entire session. The use of the atomic bomb is a done deal, not because of Japan's military strength, not because of the high cost of an invasion, but because the Cold War has already begun, before the Hot War ends. In Hiroshima City, early August 1945, about 400,000 people live. Among them are numerous refugees and thousands of Korean foreign workers who work in the city's arms factories. Only a few of the children have been sent to relatives in the surrounding area, as no one seriously expects an air raid on the city anymore.
On the airfield of Tinian Island, the crew of Colonel Tibbets' B-29 is preparing for their mission. He had given his bomber the maiden name of his mother, Enola Gay. Chaplain Captain William Downey is praying with the crew before the mission.
Almighty Father, who hears the prayers of those who hold you dear, we ask you to support those who bravely venture into the heights of your skies and carry the fight to our adversary.
Inside the fuselage of the Enola Gay hangs Little Boy, the 4.5-ton steel cylinder, the first atomic bomb in the history of warfare. At 2:45 in the morning local time, merely 3 planes from the 20th Air Fleet take off from here.
Hiroshima on the morning of the last day of its old history. The residents go about their work. The nighttime air raid alert was lifted just in time for the start of the early shift. On August 6, 1945, at 8:15 a.m., Hiroshima time, and at an altitude of 31,600 feet. Just 5 minutes later, 2 words come through clearly on a radio at the Tinian Air Base. The mission has been accomplished.
I was 16 years old. I was about 1 kilometer away from the nuclear center in a building on the first floor. We were 24 students and 1 teacher. And then the bomb immediately destroyed the building and the fire came. And the teachers were instantly dead, and some colleagues were also dead. Nevertheless, I managed to escape on my own during that time. Back in those days, we truly didn't have any understanding or idea of what a bomb even was.
August 9th, 1945. On Tinian Island, time is short. Bad weather is forecast over Japan for the coming days. At 3:50 a.m. local time, the B-29. The great artist took off, but the target Kokura is under thick cloud cover. On the return flight, they see another city under a break in the clouds, Nagasaki.
The invasion of the Japanese island on August the 23rd, back in the year 1945, has become merely an appointment for war correspondents and those newsreel cameramen. The Japanese army no longer offers resistance. Similarly symbolic for the history books, the Japanese surrender is prepared on the 2nd, September 1945. This event takes place aboard the battleship Missouri, which is anchored in Tokyo Bay. Foreign Minister Shigemitsu and General Umezu formally placed their signatures onto the official document. In the following days, around 200,000 Japanese soldiers and officers commit suicide. The disgrace of capitulation wounds the pride of the proud sons of the tenor. The detonation of the 2 atomic bombs results in unimaginable devastation. As a direct consequence, at least 150,000 people die initially. Predominantly, these are civilians who are incinerated in the fireball, whose lungs are torn apart by the enormous shockwave, or who are crushed by debris. The cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki have completely ceased to exist. The long-term effects of released radioactive radiation are not immediately detectable. It was not until the fall of 1945 that specialists from the United States Air Force dared to venture into the drop zones to attempt a thorough assessment. Thousands of Japanese will die from the delayed effects of the bombs in the time that follows. Children are still being born today with severe deformities. We wanted to prove to them that we had more than one bomb, explained the director of the Manhattan Project, General Leslie Groves, later regarding the Nagasaki operation. President Truman mentioned that his carefully considered choice to deploy the bomb never resulted in even one sleepless night for him. Furthermore, he expressed that he was grateful and relieved that God chose to give the bomb to us and not to our enemies.